Well, labour researcher Chere Monaisa is from the National Labour and Economic Development Institute. He joins me now to talk about those numbers. Chere, good afternoon. Thanks for coming in.
Good afternoon, Devin. Thanks for having me.
Well, so what we are looking at here is basically jobs that were created in the formal sector in the fourth quarter of last year. It's different from the unemployment number that we're usually used to. An increase of 42,000 jobs. It looks like a lot of jobs created, but actually it's 0.2% lower in growth compared to the same period last year. So this doesn't really make a big difference to our unemployment problem, does it?
No, it doesn't. It's almost like just trying to straighten a picture hanging on your wall. 0.2 is not much of a move. And if you want to paint a more broader picture, you would have to even look back at the rate of employment over the years, and you find that it's really insignificant because we have not recovered the jobs that were lost prior to the economic recession, prior to 2010. We haven't recovered to that position, so it's really insignificant.
We're just looking at the other aspects of the survey. There's been an increase in gross earnings paid to those in those jobs, increasing by just under 7%, in fact. So it tells us that the employers are earning more, but how significant is this number really?
It's a debatable number. It's a number that needs to be unpacked.
Why is that?
The wage gap. You find that you're having, because we're talking about averages, you're having people who are earning super salaries at the top with bonuses and all kinds of allowances being calculated on the same rate, in the same group with the people who earn the lowest rate. And the average wages in South Africa are around 3,500 right now. So you're finding that it doesn't really paint a proper picture of the situation. You find that 2/3 of employed workers in South Africa are actually classified as working poor. So it sounds like an improvement generally, but it's similar to the announcement that we have a 0.2 improvement in employment. Who is benefiting from this slight increase?
Yeah, so a rise in your salary, according to this survey, doesn't really tell you that people are getting out of poverty or we have a reduction in the wage gap, does it?
It does not.
All right, so let's just talk about where we've seen decreases. Now, manufacturing, there's a decrease in 31,000 jobs compared to the same period last year. For the period in question, we've also seen losses in the construction sector and mining. That can't be good news for the industrialized part of the economy, can it? We've just heard in the insert that it does a bad stint for our export potential.
I think it was the effect of the long strikes in mining and construction. I mean, in manufacturing with NUMSA and AMCU. I think it was 2013, 2014. Yeah. Those strikes had a real impact because the strike with NUMSA was quite big because of the effect it had on the value chain of different sectors in South Africa because of you had workers in chemicals also involved in the strike, that kind of thing. So this is just the long-term effect of it being seen over the years. So, but at the same time, we are seeing focus that from the second quarter, some sectors are showing positive expectations of creating jobs, including the construction sector. But unfortunately, the mining sector still remains negative. So in a few months, when we talk about these employment statistics again, we'll be mentioning the manufacturing sector in a positive light, while the services sector will remain a reliable job supplier for quite a long time, for the foreseeable future.
How sustainable is the positive part of the economy? And when I say positive part, I mean those sectors that are creating the jobs. We've seen hotels and the restaurant industry, for example, retailers, traders, jobs are coming through there. How sustainable is that to keep us going forward?
Well, depends on wages of those people who are working in those sectors, and also other issues like the general income levels. Because if you are expending more money in these sectors, there are people to consume these services. Maybe tourism is its own thing. The department can work on many things to promote it, and it can probably still survive on its own if South Africa maintains a positive image. We don't have any major terrorist activity that deters tourists. But on the retail sector, it's going to be dependent on what is the credit ratings of people? Are people living in debt? Can people access money to make these, because these are consumption sectors. These are sectors that depend on people having money to consume from them.
All right, and just one final one. I mean, should we by now see the spin-offs of the employment tax incentive that government has introduced? Surely by now we should be seeing some indication that companies are creating more jobs and those numbers going up.
No, it doesn't make much of a difference, honestly. Statistics are, it's hard to find the information if you try to go out there and get it. And for those few researchers who've been able to study it and analyze it, they've come to the conclusion that there hasn't been a significant shift. It hasn't been proven that employers would have hired or would have not hired these people were it not for the incentives. But some companies are reporting a benefit from the tax incentive, but there is no certainty of whether they hired because of the incentive.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Chere Monaisa, labour researcher at the National Labour and Economic Development Institute. Thanks indeed for coming through.
Thanks for having me.